वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Before I begin, I have to add, Dr. Neki was one of a kind, literally. That's the best I can say about him. Absolutely special. I knew for many years, learned a lot from him. And the English translation of Ardas that came out a couple of years before he passed away, I had to edit it. So that's in the thing. So those parts are mine, the rest of his. No, it was good. And the second thing I want to add, which is off the time that we're talking about here, the discussion that you had on marriage and things and things. I remember she disappeared, Jessie, but that is probably one of the finest discussions I've heard in these sessions here, in these programs, since they began. Because I've been part of these right from the beginning. That was the finest, and it was very necessary and very needed, and the problem is not resolved, and I realize very well the wisdom of the fact that the classical Indian model marriage, where you meet somebody for 5 minutes and they tell you yes or no, that's the question. Or they promise you something, and I said, this or that, record or whatever. And my answer used to be, what do you think? Shouldn't I just put a board around my neck saying, for the highest bidder, and stand at the street corner and see what am I worth? So don't play the game. And of course the date as you wish, the open system that we have in this country, in this culture, that doesn't work very well either. So either way you look at it, one doesn't work and fails repeatedly, which we do. The other one doesn't work, but they live in misery for as long as they're like incarcerated for life. And that doesn't work. So the next step in our discussion, we need to figure out what models we can evolve. And throwing lines of Gurmani and then it's not going to work. We need some common sense approaches to understanding Gurmani and then understanding what we are, knowing what we are, and what models can work. Yet, nothing will work forever and always. Failures happen. Blame that not on creator or whatever. And I speak from experience. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience itself comes from poor judgment. And I come to you with truckloads of experience of both kinds. So we'll not go further in that. But we need that discussion to continue today, tomorrow, perhaps forever. The third thing I should have added, you made me sit with the 4 ladies there for the picture, and I said to Mrs. Neki, I said, would it matter if we stick our tongue out for the picture had been taken? Or she said no, but I was going to add that I could hold my fingers up like that. She didn't like that. So we won't do that. I remember Nanak today, 550 years later. That's what I'm going to talk about. Mortal God, we all live and die. Our earthly journey brief, a mere speck in a timeless reality. Nanak, the founder of the faith, secure Sikhism, lived years ago. Why travel down that old musty history to capture the magic and mystery of his life and mission? Keep in mind that at death, most of us are remembered for a day at best. More often, for a minute or so, if you listen to obituary notices from valued colleagues and friends. But the opposite is stand up, and so has died, is a good man, and so on. Sit down. Now, finished. Now perhaps there are almost 25 million Sikhs and non-Sikh admirers all over the world coming together to share and celebrate his life and mission. And my mandate is not to provide a hymn of prose or prose of praise to Nanak, but to connect with his mission that changed the course of history. So I offer you instead a bare bones outline of why and what he set out to do over 500 years ago, and why we should remember it today, why it's important for us even now. What were the ground realities in India when Nanak was born? Religions do not always hold a nation together. Religions do not. Bangladesh was part of Pakistan. The 24-year-old union collapsed in 1971. Both are Muslim nations. The predominantly Muslim states in the Middle East remain mostly at loggerheads. Sunni and Shia Muslims do not get along. Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews not be fond of each other. Explore history on the internal friction with more than 200 sects of Christianity. And they fought each other, killed each other, ousted each other, and done everything, except live in peace. And much like Europe, India never was a single nation, except perhaps under the British and the Mughals. India was always a melange of independent or quasi-independent nation states, each with a distinct culture, language, cuisine, music, and ethos. Invaders could conquer it with limited invasive power because they were never united. Since 1947, it's a politically unified nation that it was under the colonial masters, but internal fragmentation persists. Some geographical realities you also need to recognize. India's northern border remains protected from invaders and massive migrations by the inaccessible Himalayas. The flanks are protected by the sea. In northwestern corridor, the Khyber Pass remained as the inlet for the wider world into India. This passageway between Afghanistan and Punjab is the way the prehistoric Caucasoid settlers from Asia Minor entered, as did Alexander the Great and others, including traders and merchants, sundry invaders, as well as the Silk trade. Now this people coming from all over the world through the Khyber Pass into Punjab, this produces a cultural and genetic hybridization, enriched the DNA of the people in the Punjab. The other Europeans, of course, the French and the British, entered India by sea centuries later. When Guru Nanak appeared, India was ruled by Muslim invaders bent on converting natives by sword if necessary. Hindu society, despite struggle and dissidence, was hamstrung by a divisive culture, a reprehensible caste system that exists today, and shamefully degraded place of women. A divided society had lost its moral compass, was easy prey to invaders. And this is what young Nanak saw. Now, how do a people reclaim their own humanity and dignity? The hope of a better tomorrow requires freedom of speech and action, participatory self-governance, transparent accountability, security, economic progress, development of infrastructure, an ethical code for a productive life. Easier said than done. Two choices come to mind: evolution or revolution. Revolutions are bloody. We change rulers, but not as easily the mindset of the people. That is product of long-standing intergenerational, culturally ingrained habits of the heart, traditions that define the self. In other words, the paradigm or the default position of the mind, they don't change easily. A transformative shift is exactly what was needed, and that is what Guru Nanak launched. And it took a good 10 generations, almost 40 years, to mature into its present form. As expected, the path was mind-laden. Muslims, with the connivance of some Hindu rulers, went on the war path to defend their political religious dominance. Hindus saw Sikhi as undermining their hold on the people, with a challenging new ideology that rejected their timeless but backward teachings on caste, place of women, idol worship, and so on. The first need was the creation of a community of the dispossessed people. How do you do that? Now, Nanak started a free kitchen where people would come together, prepare and serve food to all irrespective of caste, creed, color, or gender, enjoy a meal, listen to uplifting poetry and teachings and music, kirtan, relate to each other as equals. Remember that in the traditional society, high and low caste would never mingle or break bread together. Nanak dismissed the notion. People learned to live with each other, not caring if they were sharing time with a king or a papa, a Brahmin or an untouchable. In India at that time, this was revolutionary. His teaching begins with an alphanumeric of his own design. Ik Oankar, he proclaimed. Ik stands for the number 1. Oankar, rooted in Sanskrit, speaks of the Creator. If one can see the oneness of the Creator, there is no room left for a sectarian, separate Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, or a Grand X form of the Creator. That would be a lesser God, not worthy of worship. Guru Nanak's God, or Creator, has no physical form, transcends all physical formulations, but definition can never be fully captured by our finite mind or language. This profound message laid the fundamentals of a productive, meaningful life in the language of the people, as poetry to be musically rendered. Now why? Why poetry? Because at best the spoken message settles in the head, the brain, if you want to call it that. Music takes the message to the heart, although the heart has no ears to hear with. And what exactly is the mind of the soul? But in our language, both the heart and the head put together. There is no other reality to this soul that I understand. And poetry is a room full of allegories and analogies to hold the mind. The compositions use the classical timeless raga system of Indian musicology. Music and poetry are thus internalized, interpreted, integrated, not literally read. Now, Guru Nanak took the message across the known world, which I well beyond Punjab and India. The question often arises, did he want to start a new faith system? And I would say yes, he did. He travelled through India, modern Pakistan and beyond, south to Sri Lanka, north to Tibet and Nepal, east to Assam, and perhaps even to China. There is a dispute about that. And west to Afghanistan, Mecca, Turkey, and neighboring areas. He had dialogue with the scholars of many faiths. After 4 odysseys, he returned to Punjab, founded Kartarpur, now in Pakistan, as the 6th model of utopia. Utopia it was, not dystopia. There would be a difference. Here he nurtured the first Sikh community. Kartarpur became a bustling presence of businesses and traders. The community prospered. Guru Nanak lived there with his wife, 2 sons, preached the Sikh way of life, tilled his farm. Any worker would. Kartarpur was a defining step forward in the development of economically viable infrastructure for the dispossessed people. Note, it was not near any Hindu or Muslim religious center. Never did Guru Nanak or any other Guru ever suggest or recommend that Sikhs go to Hindu or Muslim place of worship. The Gurdwara in Kartarpur was the community's only public place. Now, think a moment. If a business or a shop closes its doors at the death of the founder, isn't it a failed venture? An enterprise must continue past the generations to earn the title of institution or movement. And today, as I'm talking about Guru Nanak, the moment he started, I will not lean on citations from the Guru Granth, as most speakers would. Instead, I will lean on tradition and history and so on to make my case. So how do you build a nation and a people decimated by centuries of invasion and cultural setbacks and the requirements that I mentioned to you earlier? Freedom of press, all things done, you know the list. So how do you rebuild a nation? A massive transformative task is not accomplished overnight, even months or years. There are many dots to connect, many life models, habits of the heart, paradigms to be minutely re-explored and re-examined, even jettisons replaced. And these demand a paradigm shift. Habits of the heart never easy to upend. Inertia remains the default position of the human mind. So Guru Nanak's message continued and was further developed by his 9 successors. And Nanak lived centuries ago. Times change. Newer questions surfaced. Sikh institutional development continued. Significantly, all 10 gurus wrote under the name and authority of Nanak. The Guru Angad succeeded Nanak, moved his activities to a new settlement, Khadur Sahib. There were now 2 urban centers flourishing in Punjab. He also systematized the rules of Gurmukhi, the script of Punjabi, the language of the people, prior to Sanskrit. The language of the Brahmin elite was the only medium deemed fit to convey scriptural writing and teaching, hence available only to Brahmins. Amar Das, the 3rd Guru, chose Goindwal as a base. His presence extracted businesses, created a 3rd Sikh community without diminishing the luster of Kartarpur or Khadur Sahib. To upend the injustice to women, he appointed them to leadership positions in spreading Sikhi's message, encouraged widows to remarry, condemned the horrendous practice of sati, self-immolation by widows. Also started the tradition of twice yearly conclaves of Sikhs, reconnected the teachings, and conferred on current issues that impact the community. The Guru Ramdas followed. He founded Ramdaspur, that became Amritsar, when Guru Arjan, the 5th Guru, completed his development. The Golden Temple, Harmandir, in Amritsar, remains the de facto capital of the Sikh activities. Social, political, educational, administrative, at the local or international, since that time, it defines through history the Sikh society today. Guru Arjan collated the writings of the previous 4 Gurus, along with his own, adding compositions of people selected Hindu and Muslim saints and poets, installed a compilation of the first rendition of the Sikh scripture, Adi Granth in 1604. This became the authoritative document in Sikh ethos. He was the first Sikh martyr in the cause of freedom of religion. The lesson: one must learn to die before picking up a weapon. Guru Nanak taught the Creator is not found in seclusion on the mountain top, or renunciation of within the active worldly life. The 2 are not mutually exclusive. Guru Arjan had been martyred. So, his successor, Hargobind, enunciated formally the doctrine of Niripiri, that emphatically merged the internal spiritual life of the mind with the outwardly directed worldly pursuit of action. These 2 primary fundamentals of Sikh's existence must now be sundered. Sikhs are to be peaceful, non-violent, not pacifist. So he wrote 2 swords, recognizing that a successful human life is one of action, Miri, never torn asunder from its spiritual foundation, Miri. One without the other is incomplete. Raised a militia to counter armed warfare thrust upon him. Each subsequent Guru maintained armed militia. Guru Hargobind also built townships of Hargobindpur, Mehrar, and Kartar, Kiratpur, even a mosque for many Muslims who admired Sikhi but remained Muslims. Briefly, Niripiri and the concept that he defined, it built the core of nation building, critical to Sikh history and Sikh values. And the term nation that I use here does not imply geographical lines drawn in the sand. Guru Har Rai was dedicated to ecological concerns and created resources and predicaments for the needy. Guru Har Krishan Sir briefly remembered the service to the poor during the horrendous epidemic. Anandapur and Paonta Sahib owed their existence to Guru Tegh Bahadur, the 9th Guru, who accepted martyrdom to assert the fundamental right of religious freedom. For Hindus to refuse conversion to Islam under duress. Guru Tegh Bahadur was not a Hindu. The underlying principle here, often misattributed to Voltaire, is that I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Guru Gobind Singh deserves much more than the brief space here. In 1699, he brought the transformative agenda of Guru Nanak to its mature modern form, created a community of Khalsa that changed the face of Punjab into a free, outer-directed people at peace with their inner self. Remember, the underpinnings of Millennium period must remain in sync. Guru Gobind Singh also added Guru Tegh Bahadur's compositions to complete the final recension of the Yad Granth that he installed in the Guru Granth, and the creation of the Khalsa initiated Sikhs. And then knelt and requested his followers to initiate the Guru into the Khalsa order, which they did. The novel idea of the relationship between the teacher and the student here, Guru Chela in Sikh and Sikhi, and antedates the servant leader concept that you might now encounter in modern academic programs of business management schools. In the 2nd century from Guru Nanak, Sikhi had come a long way. Guru Gobind Singh saw that Sikhs had earned self-governance. He decreed that henceforth in Sikh practice, Guru Granth remained the repository of all Sikh spiritual heritage, while temporal authority would rest in Sikh community acting in awareness of the spiritual heritage that defines and guides them. Are you exchanging good notes about list of things to buy? The shopping list? In delineating the borders of Guru Nanak's mission, I have tried to connect the many dots of the 500 years that shaped Sikhi for a timeless presence today. An unforgettable historical nugget from the time of Guru Nanak unelegantly captures the magic and mystery of teaching. He described the Sikh way of life as a three-legged stool. You know it well. One, honest earnings, two, sharing rewards of life with the needy, best labeled seva, and langar being only one possible component of many possibilities. And three, remaining always connected with one creator, common to all regardless of caste, color, creed, gender, or religious, cultural, or national affiliation. And think for a moment of the three, honest earning and sharing the rewards of life with the needy are social constraints. Now, soon after Guru Gobind Singh, in the early 17th century, Sikhs had evolved the traditions of Sarbat Khalsa with nationwide representatives would meet in conclaves, like town hall meetings that you see across America today, and throughout history, to confer nations of peace and war or critical terms of policy direction. Traditions, code of conduct, protocols, related matters may also be revisited and as needed. Now, neglected human inertia have degraded these systems over the years. In any path, we need to know where we are at any point. More critical is the trajectory of the path which speaks of our direction, pace, and focus. Only then can the journey become the destination. The process isn't easy, it is essential. The journey started with Guru Nanak. It does not end with his mortal presence or with ours. The exploration must continue so that we don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Now, my heartfelt plea to you is that we see Guru Nanak unusual and special as he was, and the one who founded and shaped our journey, a revolutionary movement that still tugs at us today. How do his teachings resonate with us? That is the question, and there is no better legacy. The onus is now ours, and I thank you very much. I don't have any. there are many questions. And I said, I don't have any. And I don't have any answers either. But the best answer comes from the questioning mind. Please remember that. So don't look to me for the answer, look for conversation. Fair enough? From conversation we will evolve answers, hopefully easier than life.
So Dr. Saab, thank you so much for the illuminating talk. It seems there are a number of questions, so I'm going to see if I can collapse a few of those, but let me start with what I think may be some of the easier ones. What is known about Big Sister Nanak and her descendants? Would you comment on that?
Well, her relationship with the well is a matter of legend and story in his tradition, maybe a little bit history too. And I assure you I don't know much better than that. And you know that better than I. And something else we were going to say.
There is another one for the family life also.
Is it family?
Yeah, what is known as the
Family
family?
history sometimes I would say is unimportant. This reminds me of a good friend of mine, a Sikh, who once said to me that the first duty of a son is to be obedient to what the father says, to obey the father. And I thought for a moment, flabbergasted. I said, by that token, Nanak was not a good son, was he? So, it doesn't matter. We always start with Metta Kalu. How is he important? But if it doesn't make.
In fact, this you already guessed at the question, which was that Guru Nanak Dev Ji was an amazing force that transformed India. But tell us a little bit about, was he a good husband or father?
I wasn't there. That is an honest answer. But we have not read anywhere that his wife complained. Okay? We have read that his son complained. We have read that his father complained. But that his sister complained or his wife complained, we have not read. Don't forget, he went back after his 4 Odysseys. It took him years, a better part of a lifetime. He was away from home. He went back. He was welcomed at home. He wasn't thrown out without dinner. There's no record of that. Right? So, what more documentation do you want? That he was happy in his family, or that he left us something that we remember 500 years later. I started by saying, remember that how long will people remember us? A minute or a day? If you're very lucky. You remember 500 years later. You've come from the world to talk about it. So what more can I say?
Let me take that and actually switch to another question.
Actually, I'm not going to give any answers, but I hope to see things that you can think about.
Absolutely.
Because your thinking will be far beyond mine.
The question that probably is relevant to that thought process is, so Guru Nanak Dev Ji founded an institution, but tell us about the role of the Shabad Guru. That's
what I was hinting at. The Shabad Guru, I said the intellectual discussion gets to your intellect, whatever it is, little or much. Okay? That's where you might find a place. Okay? Music connects that to a different place within you, your mind. And that is the one that defines your life, it defines itself. And that is the one that brings out the revolution of the person. If that connection is not made, there isn't any hope. That's the trouble with many of our, I know I'm sitting in the outskirts of Gurdwara. It's the outskirts, right? And I shouldn't be saying this, because I'm going to go back to New York tomorrow and doesn't matter to me quite so much. But the way our Gurdwaras run today, we run them as cultural institutions. And cultural institutions are important because without a culture, with a shared language, cuisine, traditions. Huh? Without that, people don't come together. These are the things that provide the glue that brings the people together, so that the message can come to them. So we can't get rid of the culture entirely, but the ultimate lesson, the teaching is in the, with words in Good Morning, like when it says, "Ditte mukta hoye, jitse shabad na kare vichar." Okay? And a Gurdwara function by saying vichar is not necessary. That becomes a summary there. Just do it, do what you got to do. That's perfectly fine in a grade school teaching. CAT is cat and BAT is bad, and that's the way it's always going to be. That's fine. But that's not the way it's always going to be. The cat can acquire many meanings. It's not just the cat that you see out there. When I say cat, the cat has 9 lives. And I've had 3 already, I've got 6 more to go. But that's a different story. Okay? Does that answer something?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
In the interest of time, I'll keep it to 2 more. One is, and I'm going to change the question a little bit. Out of the Indian religions, Buddhism is held pretty high. How do we get Guru Nanak's message out of universality at the same level?
That could take a whole hour or a day or 2, but let's do it in 2 minutes. Buddhism, a beautiful religion, does God exist? It doesn't even go into that. It ignores it. It doesn't matter. In other words, live a good life, gives you the principle of living a good life, does not get into these things. Now, what did Hinduism do to it? It drove it out of India. Buddhism exists successfully elsewhere, but in India it's not a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. All right? And Guru Nanak too, if you look at it again as a message carefully, he does not debate the nature of God, his physical attributes. He's silent. He talks about it only because we need to understand. And 10 million times he says, a katha lady without end. A katha. Right? These concepts are in there that you cannot describe. Yet, if there is something infinite, we cannot capture that in finite language or medium, and we cannot do that. But we are, after all, tribal people, and tribal people create the communities, which are important. But we need to do that because they're emotionally important. But we need to have that intellectual perspective as well to separate the tribal reality from something that transcends it. And we often don't do that. So what happens is, what we do is God, divine and approved by the Creator. What my neighbor does is hogwash. And that is cushion, at the same in New York.
This leads to the last question, which is, you write about Sikhism is a nation without borders. Sikhism was started as a nation without borders. Tell us a little bit about how do we maintain the true sovereignty of the individual?
A free people. If you think about it, the opening words of these nations' philosophy is, of the free people. All are, it said all men are free, but really, now we know the meaning is not just limited to men. Free people who can do all the free things that I listed in there. And that is what this says. Guru Nanak says the same thing. He's talking about the dignity. We confuse the 2 terms of dignity and respect often. Dignity is inherent in anything that has life. Human beings all have dignity. Even the slave, the servant, the untouchable, have the same dignity as you or I do, or these multimillionaires of San Jose. Right? What's that? So that's dignity. Respect is something that you have to earn. Now I have to earn your respect by what I say or what I do, whether it's at work or elsewhere. I may get it, I may not get it. I may not measure up to your standards or your expectations. That's okay. But when we dismiss people by saying, no, he's nothing, he's a jungle, then you've robbed him of his dignity. And that right you do not have. That makes a distinction.
Very well said, Jim. With that, I think we'd all like to thank you so much for an illuminating talk as always, and appreciate your coming out every year and blessing us. A small Jaikara for Sriji.
I like to emphasize one thing. With any road you take, there are many paths that come. They diverge. And in any answer that I give you, I'll take the road less traveled.